Washington football. Woo! Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Burgundy Zone. I am your host, Kyle, and I am joined by my co-host, Michael Hall. The Burgundy Zone is a part of the Frederick Podcast Network. You can find out more by going to www.listenfrederick.com. But we are rejoined by the Commander staff writer, Mr. Zach Selby. It's always a great time to have you on the show, Selby. How are you doing on this scorcher of a day here in D.C.?
Yeah, it was a little hot, but I got out a little bit early today. We have like these wellness Fridays that we do every Friday. So we get out at 1 o'clock. So I was able to get out, come back home and relax a little bit, watch the latest episode of The Boys, which was still just I don't know if y'all watch that show, but it is just crazy.
Yeah, I watched that show. It's a good show. I like that. Love that show.
I heard about the anus thing, and I thought that was really weird. Or no, it was something was really weird on that show, Selby. But speaking of being able to sit back and relax, Zach, Terry Mclaurins signed his deal, a 3-year, $71 million extension with a $28 million bonus. If you can, Selby, can you break down this contract for us? Is this a good deal for Terry and a good deal for Washington? Tell us what you think.
Well, I'll clarify there for me. Hadn't signed yet. So, we still got to say per reports, although Terry has basically confirmed that he has agreed to terms. But I will say it's a good deal, honestly, for every party, just because, look, when you have Terry involved, you can sign him up for the foreseeable future. It's a good deal for that team, right? Like, no matter what happens, it's a good deal for them. And, it's a good deal for Terry as well, because, you get to stay with the team that drafted you for at least another, 4 years once that contract the extension kicks in 2023. And then, you can renegotiate, honestly, if you really want to. You can do another deal. Hit your prime when you're in 30s. That's why that's all we go for the shorter, term deals. Of course, this is all according to reports and everything. We can't confirm or deny the specifics of the deal, I guess you could say. But either way, we're happy, supposedly if Terry is, maybe going to be staying around for a little bit longer. I know I'm excited for sure.
Right. And the one question I wanted to piggyback off of that, Selby, is the fact that with this deal, essentially what it means is that Terry still gets paid the $2 million that his rookie contract is for this season. But that's why they paid him a $28 million signing bonus. So essentially he's getting paid $30 million, but only $2 million of it right now is going against the cap. Is that correct?
I'm not a capologist, so I'm not going to be able to say how that cap situation works. But I do know for certain that he's still under his rookie contract this year, and then once next year hits, that's when his extension would come into play.
Okay.
Right, and thank the heavens that Terry's back finally, and allegedly he's going to be back, hopefully.
Allegedly. Though I hope that doesn't the rug gets pulled out. I will be depressed.
I think there'd be pitchforks marching down to DC if that ever happened. But now that he's back, it seems like the offense is ready to go and locked and loaded, and it seems like the defense hopefully is going to have a bounce back year. Who's a player or two on both sides of the ball that has to have a good year for this team to have success?
Ooh, I like those questions. Always the good prime off-season questions that we have to ask. I think if we're going to go stick on offense, I think it would have to be Terry, right? That's one of the guys who really is going to really dictate how this offense goes, right? A lot of people are saying he's going to go, over 1,200, 1,300 yards, in 2022. I don't know about that, but I do know he's going to have a hell of a year, as he always does, right? He put up, some pretty high numbers last year, put up some high numbers the year before that too, back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons since Henry Ellard back in the 90s. He's already, one of the best receivers that Washington's had in the last, 20 years at least. So he's going to be one of them. Another one I think, it's interesting. I think it's going to probably be JD. I think J.D. McKissick is going to be pretty big this year on offense, just because you got Brian Robinson, you got him out there running the tough yards, you got AG, more of the running outside, attacking the perimeters of the defense, And then you got JD, who can be the pass catching guy out of the backfield. And, if you look at ever since he got to Washington, he has been one of the best receiving running backs in the league. That's not just me, my opinion. That's just flat out facts. He's been one of the best in the league, second only really to Alvin Kamara in a lot of ways. So I think and plus it also shows whenever this offense is clicking very well, it's because JD is a part of it. And you saw after he suffered his neck injury and he was out for basically the rest of the year, you saw the offense they were on a pretty good track, and then they kind of not necessarily lost their way, but it really wasn't quite the same. So I think JD is going to have a big role this year. In terms of defense, I think it's probably going to be a linebacker and it's going to be a safety that are going to be two on my list. And I think Cam Curl going to be a big person this year. I think, he's, it's funny. I wrote a story today about the top 5 tight ends that Washington will face in 2022. And someone quote tweeted me saying Cam Curl is a tight end stopper, which is basically true. He's that kind of guy that you really can line up well against tight ends, whether they're in the slot or whether they're attached, and he can basically shut them down. And they're going to face some top tight ends this year. George Kittle, Kyle Pitts. It's going to be a tough challenge for Cam Curl, but I think he's got the ability to do it. He's been growing. He's taken another step this year. It's going to be fun to watch him, like it has been ever since he stepped onto the field. The other guy I think is going to be. It's either going to be Jamin Davis or Cole Holcomb. It's kind of cheating there, but I think with this linebacker class being with the linebacker core being really thin. I think that Jamin and Cole are going to have to play really, really well. Cole, we've seen the resume. We know that he can handle it. He's basically become a middle linebacker now. So he's making all the calls and things like that. And he's stepped up and been a leader in a lot of regards. Jamin obviously didn't have the year that we all wanted him to in 2021, but he did have some flashes. And I think he's getting more confident in himself. I think he's getting more comfortable on the defense. And I think if he can somehow carry over the progress that he's made in OTAs and minicamp, albeit it is in June with no pads and all that other stuff, no contact, but if he can carry that over into training camp and then the preseason, the regular season, this linebacking core can be interesting. They're probably still going to have to address it, get some depth in there, but at least that your 2 starters maybe are definitely locked in.
And Selby, I saw online earlier, I want to ask you this question. Vegas put out the over-under for Washington's season at 7.5 games. Mm-hmm. Vegas has now reported that 99% of all the money that was placed on Washington was placed on the over of the 7.5 games, which is telling me that nearly 100% of the nation believes that number is low for Washington. However, I keep seeing articles saying that Washington is in the lower half of the power rankings. They haven't really leaped anybody. They're lower end of the spectrum. Where's the disconnect? And do you believe in that 99% saying the over is where we're going to go?
Yeah, I think, here's something I've been saying a lot is that the NFL is such a big victim of recency bias.
Yeah.
So you look at what happened last year, right? They had a lot of really high expectations coming out of, winning the NFC East, despite having a 7-9 record. There were some people saying that their Super Bowl window starts now, which I think is, although I am very positive about what Washington is doing. Anytime you throw around Super Bowl, it's unless you're a couple of teams out there, you kind of get looked at with a side of are you sure, man? Stuff like that. I think, for me personally, I would say, and plus on top of that, Carson Wentz, there's always there is the opinion about him after losing to the Jaguars to end the 2021 season, and then the Colts get knocked out of the playoffs. But for me personally, I've always felt like they could be better than the 7-win team that they were this past year and in 2020. I think, and it makes sense to me that 99% would take the over on that. But I think some people think that equates to 10, 11, 12 wins. And my take has always been, if we can just get to 9-8, to me, that shows the team is heading in the right direction, because the last time the teams had a winning records, it was 2016. They hadn't, that's crazy, so I think getting back to at least above 500 is important. I think for all these analysts, all these pundits out there who are making, these predictions, these power rankings right now. Keep in mind, y'all, it's still the power rankings mean nothing generally, but they mean absolutely nothing in July.
Right.
But no, I think that's the problem is that like they see what they did last year, what Washington did, and like they honestly don't really know what to do with him. Like say, yeah, like they got Carson Wentz, that's cool. You know, but they didn't make any drastic changes in free agency. They got some nice pieces in the draft, but they weren't like any like star-studded pieces. Any pieces they thought were going to change the team. So we'll see. I think it's realistic to say they're above 7 wins, but you know, time will tell.
Yeah, definitely. So last year, Jonathan Allen, obviously he got the contract, came out, definitely earned the contract, made a Pro Bowl, was like a really high graded on PFF. I'm not gonna say became a household name on like throughout the rest of the country, but definitely made his name known for the rest of the league and the other teams out there. Who do you think is gonna be that guy that's gonna kind of take that leap into the limelight, but on the offensive side of the ball this year?
I mean, so again, it's gonna be Terry because I think for one, well, I'll give you another answer, but I'll explain why it's probably going to be Terry in all reality. Okay. Is because one, he was one of the only he is allegedly one of the only receivers that has not moved to another team, like that's gotten the contract. You think about it, like AJ Brown was traded to the Eagles, Devontae Adams goes off to the Raiders. Tyreek Hill goes off to the Dolphins. Like there's all these other receivers that were number one last year on their respective teams that didn't go anywhere else. They went somewhere else. You have Terry, who is supposedly, you know, whenever he signs this dotted line that we've reportedly agreed to terms on, he'll be staying here for a lot longer. And plus on top of that, I think everyone is starting to realize like how underappreciated Terry is around the league. That's another thing. So I think someone who might get more in the limelight now, as opposed to when he was like maybe a little less unknown, would probably be it might be AG, honestly, because I think a lot of people know about AG, but they don't really. He hasn't popped, I guess you could say. Like he had his 1,000-yard season last year. I think everyone kind of realized that he's good, but he's not. I think he already had he was a top 5 rusher last year. You know, maybe he's top 10. Is it top 5, top 10, one of those? And I think he was the second like leading rusher in the NFC last year. So I think he's kind of already started to break that mold a little bit. But if he has another really good year, if he breaks out with the offense wants him to, doing the whole less is more philosophy, getting him to attack the outsides of the defense a little bit more, so Brian Robinson can take the inside, he could pop some really big plays. He's coming into camp slimmer. He feels more confident. He's taking more strides as a runner. Like he still looks really good. And I think like if he has another strong year, like he goes off for maybe like 1,100 yards, which is possible for him of his skill set and speed, he very well could be kind of pole vaulting himself into, okay, here he's in a discussion with guys like, you know, Ezekiel Elliott, Derrick Henry, Christian McCaffrey, some of these other top backs of the league.
Absolutely. Selby, I wanted to get this said before we move on. Terry Mclaurin is the first wide receiver drafted by Washington to sign an extension since Ricky Sanders in 1988. I got that from Nathan Coleman on Twitter, our guest of ours, which is absolutely incredible.
That's insane.
Randy Jordan, the running backs coach for Washington, had some great things to say about Brian Robinson. He said that Brian Robinson, athletically and the way he plays running back, reminds him of Alfred Morris and Adrian Peterson. Selby, what do you think of that?
I think that's pretty accurate. I think in terms of, I do see the Alfred Morris comparison. I think a little bit of the AP comparison is because he's very much a downhill runner, and that's something that AP was very good at for, most of his career. He still kind of is good at it on occasion. He wants to play until he's like 40, but 35-year-old running backs, they are what they are. Right. And I think also, Alfred Morris had that same ability as well. Like he just hits the hole. And I think that's something that, this running back group really needs, because you look at it like JD was a receiver back before he changed to running back. AG also a receiver before he switched to running back. Brian Robinson is really the only quote unquote pure running back that this room has. And I think he has a natural ability to know when to hit the holes, when to like get those tough and dirty yards, and just trust your blockers. I think that's a very underrated skill that a lot of running backs don't have, and I think that makes a lot of sense. I think I've always said like he's my favorite draft pick of the entire class because of what he's going to allow the rest of the team, the rest of the backfield to do. But yeah, I think like he could have a really spectacular year if he's anything close to what Alfred Morris or AP was, in just one season.
Yeah, I'm sure Randy Jordan isn't sitting there saying that he's going to have the career of Adrian Peterson, just play style to be.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
We have to put that caveat in there because we'll get yelled at, Selby. But to wrap this up, only a couple more questions for you. Last season, Washington was one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst, in pass defense. And then on offense, their red zone efficiency was not very good. It was bottom half of the NFL. Of those two things, what's most important for Washington to improve this year on?
Well, I think it's got to be the red zone, right? I mean, 2020, like I know they were good all across the board in 2020, but like they did a good job of keeping teams out of the end zone. And I think that's something that they really need to get back to. And hopefully, I think with the improvements that the defense has made so far this offseason, I think like they're feeling a lot more confident that they can do that. Because if you listen to anybody on this team, they'll see, Jonathan Allen said like last year was a very humbling experience for them. William Jackson is out here saying like, yeah, everyone's feeling a lot more comfortable. We're out here, we're playing well together. We've got good chemistry. A lot of that they took a while for them to develop because of the COVID years. They had to do a lot of their stuff virtually, even with protocol sort of being laxed in 2021. I mean, keeping teams out of the end zone right now, especially like in defense, is so critical. Like because all these offenses are designed to just put up tons and tons and tons of points. I mean, you look at like the way like Kansas City is doing it. You look at the way that like Denver is going to be like that. The Raiders are going to be like that as well. Like all these teams are designed to put up a lot of points and just outscore their opponents. So if you can even hold them to just field goals or just keep them out of the red zone entirely, you've got an upper hand on them.
Absolutely, Selby. Now, my last question for you. Washington has about $18 million in cap space at the moment. Obviously, we don't know reporting with Terry Mclaurin's contract. We're still waiting on the details for that. But they have $18 million cap space. Do you expect them to use that in free agency before training camp?
I think it's possible. I think it's definitely possible that you might want to bring in a veteran, right before training camp or during training camp, something like that. Linebacker has been one of those positions that has gotten a lot of attention because of the depth they don't have. And I think, if you look at the way, Cole Holcomb played last year, he did best when he had David Mayo in the lineup. He had the veteran to go along with him. Now, I think that an important thing you need to remember with the salary cap is that teams generally want to keep at least a little bit of it to make some roster moves, during the season. Because, this team had a lot of injuries last year. And they had to make a lot of, last minute moves. I'm getting flashbacks to the Eagles.
Yeah, like Garrett Gilbert.
Signing 3 quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But I think, that they might use a little bit of it. I think, it might not be like one of those, I guess it's kind of hard to say about any player that's available right now as like a star-studded player, but I think you could probably find a quality depth piece right now that maybe has some starting experience somewhere down the line that can come in and help you a little bit.
Of course. Thank you, Selby. As always, you're amazing being able to come on here and talk with us. You're one of our first ever guests on this show, so I always appreciate you coming on, Selby. But before you get out of here, just in case there's anybody new watching that doesn't follow you already that would like to, if you'd like to talk about your Twitter handle.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Zach Selby WC. That is Washington Commanders. Anything that you want to find about like anything we put on commanders.com, whether it's photos, which Emily Fells does a fantastic job, by the way. Our videographers, they also do spectacular work. You can find all that here. I retweet that. I put out my own stuff. If you want to follow and get some occasional baking pictures every now and again, that's where you can find it.
Absolutely. I think we all love baking, Selby. And you're the best staff writer that Washington has, right, Bubba?
I mean, yeah, I like to give myself a brag.
There we go. I like it. Selby, have a great weekend. Enjoy your July 4th. Hopefully, stay safe, but also have fun, brother.
Yeah, man. Y'all too.
All right, Selby.
Have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too.
All right, everybody. We just spoke with the man, Mr. Zach Selby. He's just lining up for his next interview. That's all.
Is he really?
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
No, but, dude, we have to talk about the Terry Mclaurin contract. I mean, we have to. It being 3 years, $71 million, I think was huge. I know a lot of people are going to look at that and say the years being only 3 years is worrisome, you could say, to an extent, because you're saying it's not long enough to where you feel comfortable with Terry in long term. But you have to look at it in this breath that Terry would want that low year deal, because then he's able to reach free agency again at a young age of 30 instead of it being like 32, 33 if it was a longer contract. So the fact that he can get out at 30, that would help him, but also it helps Washington because Washington doesn't have money tied up for many, many years. They just drafted Jahan Dotson. I love Terry McLaurin. I want him to retire here. I want him to be a Washington Commander for his entire career. I'm just saying there's positives for both sides. I loved this deal. The fact that they were able to give him $28 million in a signing bonus to basically pay for him this year because his contract was only $2 million based on his rookie deal. So the fact that he's getting that money now, I think Terry deserves that without a freaking doubt. The fact that he is the only wide receiver to start out with 3,000 yards in his 3 seasons and not be elected to the Pro Bowl, I think is absolutely crazy. I mean, not even an alternate or anything like that. Like, I know that this is the golden age of wide receivers, but it is kind of nuts to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes back to like the whole Washington just kind of gets that disrespect as far as the national media goes, because again, if you even talk to guys in the league that have been like going up against Terry one-on-one during the games, or like watching him, like Charles Leno was like talking about the story when he was still playing in Chicago and Terry was out there lighting him up, going crazy on him. We ended up losing the game, and I think he like told his wife like hey, like that dude number 17, he's gonna be good in this league. He's crazy. Sure enough, look at Terry now a couple years later. So definitely, I think he's going to get that national recognition coming into this year. But with all that being said, I love the deal for both sides. Like you said, Terry's kind of older than the rest of these guys in his class, so he gets another bite at the apple if he wants to at the age of 30, 31. And honestly, at the end of the day, you got to look at the NFL as a business as well. This contract expires in 4 years from now, 2025. That also just happens to be whenever Jahan Dotson might be up for another contract. If he decides to hit, maybe be the next Terry McLaurin. So it also gives the team the option of like, hey, do we want to keep Terry as like a legacy guy if he wants to stay here, obviously? Can we keep him as a legacy guy, kind of be that vet, that super veteran in the room, and still be a contributor for this team, most likely? And also, we can pay the young guy that we have because he can be the next Terry McLaurin to kind of step in and be that be that wide receiver captain that we've been looking for and like having here with Terry. So, like I said, definitely love it for both sides, and just psyched that we got Terry here. Honestly, like, yeah, I'm just happy. That's all I can say.
Dude, seriously, and the title of this episode is Terry Caught That Bag. You know, he catches everything, obviously, and he caught the bag as well. And
as the kids like to say, he got the bag.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to the Commanders for making it happen. You know, I was somebody that supported a contract offer to Kirk Cousins. And, you know, there were days went by where I was like, dude, come on. Like, I'm waiting for that update from Adam Schefter saying that Kirk Cousins was off the deal. They accepted it, right? That never came around, only the franchise tag. With Terry, I was petrified of that reality of just waiting, and it never comes. And then you're just left with nothing, essentially. The fact that they were able to get it done, the fact that Terry came out with that letter thanking the fans. I mean, the journey starts now. I mean, that is just, it encapsulates who Terry is, you know. And like that day, that April 29th in 2019 when he was drafted, that next day the Ben Standig put out who's Washington's best pound for pound pick, and he put up 4 players, like Montez was on there, a couple other ones, and I quote tweeted to put Terry on there just because, like, listening and watching that video of Brian Hartline at Ohio State, the wide receiver coach at Ohio State, talking about Terry, then his teammates talking about Terry, and then hearing Terry talk on the phone to Coach Gruden when he was drafted, it was like, dude, this is my guy. And I just had a feeling about him, expect the day after we were drafted. And it's awesome to see the rose in the desert get some water. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's good to see that, because I don't want it to be in a drought anymore. I want to see that rose get a little some friends around it, and maybe a forest grows.
Exactly. And look, at the end of the day, when guys around the league see guys like Jonathan Allen, they see guys like Terry McLaurin, guys that just like come on the field, they perform, and then they get off the field, they do the right things, they're culture setters in the locker room. It just goes against the stigma around the rest of the league that, oh, nobody wants to come to Washington because of all the drama, and no one wants to be here, no one wants to re-sign here. Well, we got two guys on both sides of the ball that are going to be linchpins of this team going forward, young core guys, and like I said, it's just hopefully we keep changing the stigma and we just keep growing as a team and as a culture.
Yeah, dude. I mean, there were people still advocating for us going and trying to get like Amari Cooper or another vet wide receiver or something like that, advocating for. And look, I understand you're wanting to get better and you got to get better, but the fact is that's what the old Washington team would do. They would overpay for these wide receivers instead of paying your own guys and creating an ecosystem of motivation, of creating success. Because If you do things the right way, you go about your business, you work hard, you help your teammates, you're there for them, and you try your butt off, you'll get a contract with this team. And I know that that's something Ron Rivera said when he first got here. Not that many people believed him, but you're right, dude. It does show, and it's evidence of a culture shift without a freaking doubt. And the fact that it happened, it came through. I'm really happy for Terry just as a person being able to get to that level and just paying him elite money, top 5 money. Because I have said, how long have I been getting in this argument with people that Terry McLaurin is an elite wide receiver in this league? And everyone blew in the face, telling me, "No, you're an idiot. No, Terry McLaurin's not tall. He's not better than DeAndre Hopkins." But like JP from the Junkies, I was going back with him on Twitter over that. So he supplied PFF's rankings of where they put Terry McLaurin as some sort of justification as to why Terry wasn't elite. Like, come on, man.
Right.
Look, follow the money, bro.
Of course, you definitely got to follow the money. That's always the number one rule. But again, it just comes down to numbers versus the eye test. Yes, you can look at the numbers. You can look at the PFF grades. You can look at that, and the third. But when you look at Terry on the field, and you just single out Terry and what he's doing on every single play when it comes to he's an excellent blocker. He's not afraid to get down and dirty. And it's as a route runner, I remember back in when Stephon Gilmore was the defensive player of the year that year for the Patriots. I remember we played against the Patriots. And if you looked at it all 22, Terry McLaurin was up there routing the defensive player of the year on every single play. It's just we couldn't get him the ball because obviously, if you've watched this team over the years, the quarterback play has been downright horrible, to say the least.
No.
So I know, right? Who would have thought?
Not in Washington.
Eye test, duh. But but seriously though, so again, it just comes down to you've been screaming from the mountaintops. He's elite. People always throw the numbers back in your face. Like you said, follow the money. It'll show you that he's getting paid elite money because he's an elite player in this league.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, before we are joined by our next guest here with Jeff Miles, we're going to be able to talk to him. Hopefully, Reed is able to come here in a minute or two as well. But what was your reaction to hearing that Lev Bell and Adrian Peterson are going to be in a boxing match? Or is this MMA on July 30th?
Honestly, I had lost my phone, so I didn't even know this was going on. And then I heard people talking about it randomly on the radio here and there. And I was just I thought it was a joke. I was like, yeah, right. And then I actually looked it up and I was just I know people were talking about it might be a financial thing for both sides because obviously Lev Bell's out the league and then AP.
He's got this lawsuits and stuff.
Yeah, right? The lawsuits. I think he's been it's been reported
Didn't he get locked up recently? Or wasn't he charged a month ago at an airport?
Yeah, but the charges got dropped. His wife was just no, it was a misunderstanding. But I think they were saying that he has a lot of business ventures that have been failed and a lot of failed investments pretty much. So
that sucks, man.
Yeah, I know.
Well, we've seen that happen Clinton Portis, right? I mean,
look, it happens to the best. Happens to the best of NFL players. They get bad investments. Some guys tell them to put their money here and then. But
the question is, Hall, are you going to watch it? Are you excited for it?
I'm not gonna watch it. I might if someone's gonna stream it. If someone's gonna stream it, I'll watch it. But I'm not gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna go out of my way. I'm gonna pay $59.99 for a pay-per-view. That's not happening. But yeah, if someone's gonna stream it, then yeah, I'll probably see AP knockout Lev Bell because let's be honest, AP's gonna knock out Lev Bell.
I don't know, dude. Apparently, Vegas came out with odds for it, and Lev Bell is heavily favored. I'm not sure if he's doing some crazy workout or has a great coach or something like that. But apparently, that's I said the same thing, dude. I was it's not I think AP's gonna whoop his ass, but also AP's not able to be out there with a switch. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's got the upper hand. But I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that's messed up. He was just disciplining his child. But the fact is that I think AP would like whoop his butt. I would just love to watch it. You know, imagine the memes.
Yeah.
You remember what was Nate Robinson?
Yeah, Nate Robinson. That's true. I mean, look, that is a good point. Everyone thought Nate Robinson was going to win that fight, and he ended up getting knocked out. And it was a laughingstock for like a couple months. So, yeah, AP, don't get knocked out. Now that I think about it, like that's going to hurt your cred like a whole lot. Don't get knocked out.
Those Martin Lawrence memes from the show when he had all those bumps over his head saying that was Nate Robinson. I thought that was hysterical, man. What a great idea that was. Because the memes were great for multiple days. It was fantastic. But let's go into our fan questions, Hall. Question 1 is from the Colonel. Where would you rank our wide receiver core in the NFC East, including tight ends? So we've only done wide receivers. We haven't included tight ends before.
Yeah. I probably would go Philly number 1 just because AJ Brown, like we all know, he's a beast. He's a monster. Definitely in the outside, run all the routes. Devontae Smith. Me personally, everyone's like hyping him up. I went back and looked at his stats. I guess he did have like a pretty solid year last year, given like the circumstances of the quarterback position.
Oh yeah, he did. He had a great year. I mean,
that's what I'm saying. It was like
Chicken
definitely
Legs
had a great year. Yeah. So he's definitely a great compliment to AJ Brown. And then the tipping point for me for them to put number 1 has got to be Dallas Goddard. Dallas Goddard is a grown man when it comes to the tight end position. You still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, bet. Yeah, he's a grown man when it comes to the tight end position. If he can stay healthy, he's one of those like top 10, top 12 in the league tight ends. So I'd go them 1. 2, I would put if Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel, if Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel can contribute and stay on the field, be healthy, and Logan Thomas comes back and does his thing, Cole contributes, John Bates, all those guys. Honestly, I would put us 2. I know everyone's going to be like, oh, well, what about Dallas, blah, blah, blah. I think that with them losing Amari Cooper, they're going to take a step back a little bit. They lost Cedric Wilson, who was a great step in for them as well.
Yeah, special teamer too.
Yeah, and then Michael Gallup's coming off the injury, so who knows when he'll be back to actually being Michael Gallup again, because I do like Michael Gallup. I wanted us to actually try to get him in free agency. But without all that being said, yeah, I got Philly 1, us 2, Dallas 3, and then obviously Giants coming last and literally in everything. So
yeah, right. And now we are joined by our next guest, Mr. Jeff Miles. How are you doing, brother?
What's up, fellas? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you perfectly fine, brother. And the reason we wanted to bring you on here because you had something awesome happen. You got accepted to have your artwork portrayed at Fedex Field, right? To be in the sweepstakes for it. And you were at Fedex Field last week. So I have to ask you, how was it?
Oh man, it was good to be home. I was only there for the day. It was flight out 9 a.m., came back 10 p.m. It was real quick. But it was good to be back in the stadium. You know, I haven't been to a regular season game since 2012 RG3. You know, it's been a minute. Yeah, I know.
So you're the reason we haven't been winning for the past 10 years.
Hey man, hey, I'd love to go to some games. I'm going to make Houston happen this season because you know that's only a couple hours away, and they're letting us go to a game back home with this program. So yeah, I'm excited.
Heck yeah, dude. I'm really happy for you. I'm happy to see that artwork that you have out because obviously you're very talented. You've shown us some previews and we don't want to put those out there yet, but it's really good stuff, Jeff. But
so let me real quick. So I just want to make sure. So it's called Command the Canvas. So there are a bunch of other artists. I think there's about 15 other artists that they selected out of God knows how many applied. And there's some dope artists out there. Some past artists that have worked at Fedex Field. You know, Spitfire. You know, shout out Bone. All of them. You know, we're working together on this, and I'll be flying home every weekend in July, basically, to be working on these murals. So shout out to Washington Commanders and Victoria for putting all this together.
Yeah, hopefully you don't have any issues with turbulence or anything like that. Yeah, I can't stand that stuff, bro. But
I'm
Jeff,
good with the flights.
good. Jeff, we had a question brought in with the Colonel, so I want to have you with us for the rest of this episode. And Hall answered it already, but the Colonel wants to know if you could rank the wide receiver cores in the NFC East, including the tight end spot. Hall had the Eagles at first, had us second, the Washington Commanders second, then had the Cowboys third, and the Giants last. How do you feel about it, including the tight ends?
I'm going to have to agree with Hall on that one. I think Eagles right now, they got it. I'd say us. And honestly, a lot of people have faith in Michael Gallup that he can, be that guy. But I mean, I don't see it, especially coming back off injury. I don't know how that's going to be with him. They jump from tight end to tight end, and they seem to be pretty good at choosing their next tight end. The Cowboys I'm talking about. But
It's true.
I got to see it to believe it, especially, being a Commanders fan. I got to see it to believe it. I've seen Terry, I've seen Logan Thomas. I've seen what Curtis Samuels can do, not with us, but like I've seen what he can do. And this is the best quarterback we had. If Terry can get 1,000 yards back to back with Heineke, Garrett Gilbert, Fitz, Alex Smith, who can't run, by the way, I think we're pretty solid there. So I'd agree with Hall's ranking right there.
Yeah, and I wanted to say prayers out to the Smith family. They just announced this week that their daughter is having surgery to remove a brain tumor. And so the family just gets hit harder and harder, apparently, it seems. So prayers out to the Smiths. I hope everything is okay and his daughter is okay and is able to overcome this. Obviously, she's more than capable of doing so, just given the fact of what her dad did. I think that she could do the same. I'm sure that's a form of inspiration, you could say. But
For sure.
I agree that the Eagles should be probably one just because of the tight end position. If Logan Thomas was healthy, I say Washington is easily number one. But, they have A.J. Brown that just paid a lot of money to. There's ifs attributed to that, of course. But A.J. Brown is good. I think we all know that. Then they got Chicken Joe there, obviously, that they just drafted last season. He's very good. He had a productive year. Then Dallas Goddard is probably one of the best tight ends in the league. If you were to say best, I would say probably like top 5, top maybe 10. But he's definitely up there, and he makes that offense better. But the Commanders are second, without a doubt. If they're on the Eagles' butt. The only difference is that Curtis Samuel is a big if. And it's unfortunate to say that, but if we say that about Michael Gallup, we have to say the same thing about Curtis Samuel and Chase Young. You know what I mean? We have to be real about the situation. Logan Thomas is healthy. I think we're good ahead and go. But I think Washington should be number one with Logan Thomas being healthy. Then easily the Cowboys at 3. Michael Gallup, I don't trust all that much. And their tight end, they had a franchise tag their tight end, not because he's that good, just because of Dak Prescott targeting him so much. And it's kind of like Robert Tonyan. Yeah, Robert Tonyan was very, very productive compared to other tight ends in the league, but he's not better than most of these guys just because Aaron Rodgers putting the ball in his belly, and that's kind of how it is with their tight end in Dallas. So I would put us at number 2, Dallas 3, Giants at 4.
I'd say real quick, the difference is you say we got to be fair about Curtis Samuels, how we are at Michael Gallup.
He didn't get injured last season, right?
The difference is we've seen us be decent or even make the playoffs. Granted, it was 7-9, but we made the playoffs on worse. We haven't seen the Cowboys be good for a season without a quarterback. We haven't seen them be good without Amari Cooper in the past 3 years. They forgot they were 3-6 before they got Amari Cooper. So that's the difference right there. I want to see how they are this season. I don't know what the hell that is, but
it's a ghost.
Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah, I think we all hit the nail right on the head. We have very good explanations as well. But the next question, Jeff, from the Colonel. He says, I don't understand all the hype surrounding Percy Butler, Jeff. Does he have some kind of freak show pro day or what? Chris Sims even calling him the best free safety in the draft. What am I missing? Not trying to be difficult. I just haven't seen what everyone is so excited about.
I mean, I agree. I'm going to have faith that they saw something that they saw in the last safety they drafted.
Hey, there you go. I like that.
So I agree, but I'm just going. We were saying the same thing about Cam Curl,
right?
So it's true. I have faith in the safety position that they drafted well. I'm less worried about Butler. I'm more worried about these linebackers.
Yeah, I agree with you. With Percy Butler, a lot of these, everything going along with him is the fact that he is very fluid. He's very smooth in his transition, being able to flip his hips, getting back. He's what you essentially, if you would look at these safeties, right? And let's say the post is your deep field, center field safety. You have your box safety, aka Cam Curl. Then you have your Buffalo nickel safety, whatever have you. Percy Butler is perfectly fit for that free safety spot just because of his speed, his range, very good eyesight. He can get sideline to sideline. My biggest issues with him are his tackling, and that's what I think Chris Sims is essentially telling everyone is he's the best free safety prospect in the draft, not safety overall. He's just saying free safety because of what they have to cover in deep field. He's very good in that aspect, being able to read eyes, instinctual, you could say. But I understand why you're kind of on the fence about it because what has he done yet? And there's a lot of talk about it. But that being said, I think Landon Collins' exit is what's pumping a lot of this up. I know we've talked about Derek Forrest and other stuff like that, but I do think that Percy Butler, I think he is legit in that area, and that's one area of his game where he is very, very good. And so if there's anything to drink the Kool-Aid on, I think it's okay to drink the Kool-Aid on Percy Butler being a good free safety, especially covering that back end. I don't think that's a crazy thing or like a homer thing to say. That's the one area he's good at.
Yeah, I don't really take a lot of stock into what Chris Sims says, just because like if you ever looked at any of his rankings throughout his like analyst career,
He's usually
he's
right,
always
though.
yeah. Sometimes he's right, but he's usually making like putting some crazy stuff out there, like saying like Zach Wilson is better than like I don't know, just name a quarterback. It's just random stuff
Ryan,
like that. So,
Ryan Tannehill.
right, you know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So, but as far as like
It's 'cause
him
he's
saying
smart.
that he's definitely smart. He definitely knows the game. He played the game.
No, I
obviously,
mean
so.
like he's manipulating people.
Oh yeah. But now at the end of the day, I definitely get people you're questioning it just because like you said, the tackling is an issue. I think he said he missed like 20% of his open field tackles or something like that in college or some stat like that. And like the lower level of competition that he played in college as well. So you could definitely say like, is he ready for the NFL? Ready to like play tougher, more stout competition? But yeah, at the end of the day, I have faith that the safety position has actually been pretty good over the past couple of years due to draft, due to Bobby McCain coming into free agency. So it seems like Chris Harris can kind of coach these guys up and get them to play the safety position pretty well. So if I have faith in anything, I got faith in Chris Harris coaching him up to get him onto the field.
My man, I love that. Absolutely. Chris Harris is the truth, isn't he? You still love
Yeah.
football?
I
Still love football?
mean,
That's
yeah,
my
they're
dude.
talking about if Del Rio gets fired, Chris Harris will be the next guy up. So
You're very, very right. Now, Jeff, this next question is from Andy Lockhart in our Discord chat server. I'm sure you already saw it. Oi! But his question is, Jeff, he said, man, I am stoked now Terry has signed up. Do you think Terry will get 1,200 yards and 10 plus touchdowns this season?
For some reason, I'm getting a 1,200 plus yard season, but I'm not getting a 10 touchdown. I'm just getting that vibe. I have nothing to back that up on, except for the amount of weapons we should have. Carson should be giving the ball out more to other receivers rather than just Terry. And I see Terry as, he's definitely the deep threat, but now we have Dotson, now we have Curtis Samuel coming back from injury. So I see the yardage. I'm not sure about the touchdowns. I see maybe eight to nine touchdowns.
And I think you're essentially right with your point there with the yardage, because one thing about Scott Turner's offense that we've seen, they're very good, they're productive in between the 20s. It's inside that 20 getting to that red zone is where the issue is. And with Carson's arm strength, I could definitely see Terry taking advantage of that opportunity, given the fact that he was the best deep ball contested catch wide receiver in the NFL last season. Carson Wentz is going to eat that alive, especially with him. Now, is that going to transition into points? That's my big what if. Because for me, I think running the football is what translates to points for teams. And if you could run the football effectively in the red zone where it forces teams to respect it, that's when you can hit your wide receivers. And as of right now, Washington has not given other teams that kind of worry yet. They don't have that confidence they can run it down on anybody. And until they have that, I'm skeptical of giving Terry 10 plus touchdowns. But the 1,200 yards I definitely feel is viable, without a doubt. What about you, Hall?
yeah, I definitely think that I'm with Jeff. I think the yardage will definitely be there. The touchdowns, I can't go as far as 10. I would love if you get 10 touchdowns because first of all, he would definitely get some recognition. Second of all, I think he'll make the top 100 players this year. All this stuff doesn't really matter. It just matters to me because I
Yeah.
want Terry to get the hype that he deserves. But he'll definitely make a Pro Bowl. He'll definitely get all that national recognition. But yeah, I just think that with Carson Wentz coming into the game, Kyle, like you talked about, Scott Turner between the 20s is like pretty good at scheming up guys and calling plays and whatnot. But I definitely think the yarders will come because I think with Carson Wentz, there'll be a lot more extended drives. It won't be a lot of 3-and-outs. There won't be a lot of 3 or 4 play drives. I think we'll be marched down the field. And I was trying to look up Michael Pittman's targets per game, but I don't feel like doing that right
I was
now.
going to ask that. What was the leading receiver last year for the Colts?
Yeah, Michael Pittman Jr. had a pretty good year, and I would want to say he was around 5 to 7 targets a game. Like I said, I didn't look it up, but that sounds about right where it was at. And that was just him being by himself. So obviously, you got other weapons on the field. You got to spread it out a little bit. But Carson Wentz has been known to go to his number one guy. Look at Alshon Jeffries back in Philadelphia when he was there as well, and Zach Ertz as well. So when Carson loves a guy, he's definitely gonna throw the ball to him. So I can definitely see Terry racking up the yardage this year, and I can definitely see. I think his career high is like 7 touchdowns. So I could see him maybe matching that, maybe just right under that.
Yeah, and one thing I did forget to add, Carson going back to Philly, obviously tight ends were the positive, were the good part of their team, and so naturally maybe that's who he targets down in the red zone. So that might take away the advantage or the ability for Terry to get those 10-plus touchdowns. Just given the fact that they have Brian Robinson in the building, AG, J.D. McKissick, Logan Thomas, and John Bates, I feel like that's a lot of mouths to feed and a lot of good, viable options you can use because down in the red zone, teams are going to target Terry. They're going to say, beat me with somebody else, and that's where the running of the football comes in.
Yeah,
but
Michael Pittman had 129 targets last year, so you can only imagine how many Terry's going to get.
Oh, he's going to get a lot. He definitely is, and hopefully it gets a lot. But this next question, Discord chat server Hall, this is from Sergio Martin. Would it be a good acquisition signing Anthony Barr at linebacker?
Yeah, he's been a solid linebacker in this league for a while now. Definitely one of the top tier linebackers in his prime and at his like height of his powers. But yeah, I just want to see a veteran guy come in there and like Selby was talking about that Cole Holcomb played his best when he had the veteran on the field with David Mayo. I'm gonna go as far to say Anthony Barr is an upgrade from David Mayo. So I just think that he can come in, definitely help out Jamin Davis as far as like bringing him along up to speed and the NFL speed and whatnot. But yeah, I think Anthony Barr will be a great addition to the team.
I don't think so. We've heard Jack Del Rio say before, speed, and that was kind of the issue with John Bostic. He was just a little bit too slow for that linebacker position, especially given the fact that their base defense is a 4-2-5. So they don't need 3 linebackers, a lot of them. And Anthony Barr is your kind of slower linebacker, where his advantage is the fact that he's versatile and being able to be like an outside linebacker, rushing the passer, but also being able to cover the zones in the middle of the field. But that being said, if I want to go anywhere with linebacker, I want to go with speed. I want to go with somebody who could cover and come in and actually do something instead of his one positive being you have to send him on blitzes and stuff like that. That's not a position I want to be put in. If I want depth, I want somebody that could come in, make tackles in the box, but also be able to take away passing lanes deep downfield. I think obviously we need depth at linebacker. I'm just saying Anthony Barr is just, he kind of has like cement feet to me, just hard feet, heavy feet is the best way I guess you could say. What about you, Jeff?
I'm gonna have to disagree with you, man. I know. At this point, I'll take all the help we can get. My question to you is, you would like a faster linebacker? Who? Bring him in. Because they're not bringing up any other names. We need help. If if we can have John Bostic, we could have Anthony Barr. In my head,
There's like guys like Alex Johnson, like from the Broncos, or did he sign already? But basically, there's just like there's guys that have a little bit more flexibility in their speed, from going sideline to sideline, that I would covet a little bit more. But hey, that's a very good point, Jeff.
Hey, I say at this point, sign him. Give me a linebacker. Sign any linebacker. At this point, sign any linebacker. And if you want Cole to be the middle, that's cool. But you can't be the middle without 2 sides, the left and the right. You need somebody. This 2 linebacker set that they're talking about, I mean, it's cool until you realize next up is David Mayo, which, he did a serviceable job last year at some point in the season, but we need help at that position. And I'm not trying to wait until, God forbid, Cole gets hurt or, Jamin gets hurt and then we're screwed, bring in everybody. Alec Johnson, whoever, bring him in.
I got you. Yeah, the one thing I was just gonna say, like, if we are going for the veteran guy, that knowledge, good tackler, and everything, I would rather just re-sign John Bostic, just because the veteran presence. He's known this scheme, he knows what to do, and it's an easy plug, and he could start up right away. And that's good quality depth that you feel good about if something were to happen to Jamin. If we're going to go down that road, is my only point.
I'll take Bostic too. I am so Lord help us at linebacker that hey. Kyle, you can line up back there. I don't care. Get another linebacker.
I'd be a great speed bump for somebody, I'll tell you.
Yeah,
my goodness.
Anybody, I'm cool. And I like Cole. I think he's a great player. I think if he, he seems like the guy. If he could put his mind to it, he'll do it.
Yeah.
But we need more. We got Cole Holcomb, Jamin Davis, David Mayo.
I got you.
That's it. Same thing with our DNs. We need depth, and
we do.
I hate to say it. I don't think Shaka Tony did enough. Last year.
We still have Casey Toohill as well, who was actually pretty productive.
Toohill did all right.
I think he did get hurt as well, but that's one thing. But let's go to our next question, Jeff. I want to ask this of you. This is from our guy T-Mac Ty on Twitter. Thank you for submitting a question, brother. I'm not as worried about depth as others. Should I be? Based on your conversation on the last pod, what position is the Buffalo and percentage they are in base, yada, yada?
First part, especially, you know what? I wouldn't be as worried about depth if our bye was in week 14.
Okay.
Our players have to stay healthy for most of the season, and then that last part of the season, if we're trying to make the playoffs, is very important. So yes, I'm worried about depth because less of the offensive line, because Ron has proven that he'll find a way for the offensive line. Defensive line was a problem last year. I already expressed offensive line. Linebacker. I'm not as worried about cornerback as most people. I would agree with that. For some reason, I'm not as worried about cornerback and safety depth as I am linebacker and
offensive line.
Defensive line.
Okay.
I'm more worried about depth of defensive line.
I'm with you there. I've been saying that for a while. Starlo Tulele is somebody I continue to say on this podcast. Pretty sure I've said him on the last 6 of them. I'm kind of beat that horse into the ground. You know what I'm saying? But I know what you're saying essentially, because a lot gets talked about depth. But let's say you get lucky and nothing really happens at that position where it's not as necessary, right? And I understand your point because that does happen to some positions. But there's one thing that we've learned with this football team is that the injuries come and they come in bunches. And so I am concerned about depth because that's just one way my brain works, just being able because the way that I view it, T-Mac, is that you should go into every season expecting your number one at each position to go down. And so you have to make sure that number 2 is somebody you feel comfortable with that could come in, not only take that job and do well with it, or do his job, but do well with it as well and build into that. And so that's why I would say you should worry about depth just a little bit. But I understand your point overall that a lot of the times it is overrated to an extent. But look, this is a long season. We're starting to get into the 18-week season or whatever. It's going to be a lot, and it's a long bye. It's not until week 14, so we're going to need the depth, and we're going to need the rotation of players, especially on D-line like Jeff talked about, because we're losing those bodies. And if Chase Young doesn't start the year, the depth there is very, very thin, you could say. What about you, Hall?
Yeah, the only depth I'm really worried about is probably I'm with you guys, the D-line. I just think that, or I'm depth and linebacker as well, but I just think that they're going to be in the little 4-2-5, the Buffalo nickel, a lot of the times anyway. So I think it'll be like St. Juste or whoever that 11th defender on the field will be, or they might even go 5-man fronts with the 5 D linemen down there. So I definitely think they'll find ways to work around that. But yeah, D-line depth is definitely a thing that I'm worried about. And at the end of the day, when we're at our best in 2020 is because we had a rotation of guys coming in. You look at guys like the teams like the Eagles or the Bucks, teams that have been to the Super Bowl, been to the playoffs the past couple of years, made it to the pinnacle they've always had a rotation of guys just like coming in fresh. And like you said, it's definitely a longer season. And this is a league that has a 100% injury rate.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, a lot of guys played through stuff, but if you get to like, and then teams also catch, like you said, the injury bug. It might just be 1 or 2 players. Next thing you know, a couple weeks down the line, you got 3, 4, 5, 6 players out. So, like you said, it comes in bunches. Teams get the injury bug. Hopefully, we don't catch it this year, and hopefully, we can just stay healthy for the most part, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what is the Buffalo? The Buffalo nickel position is when they're in nickel defense. Nickel equal 5 cents, right? Think about that. That means 5 DBs are on the field, which essentially means 2 linebackers, or you could have 1 linebacker with an extra defensive lineman. That rarely ever happens. But that's what the Buffalo nickel is, that 5th defensive back on the field. And the reason why it's called the Buffalo nickel is because it's predominantly played in the box. It's played by a safety. Washington likes to use 3 safeties. So if it's a safety, it's considered the Buffalo nickel position. If it's a cornerback playing it, I would imagine based on the duties that's asked of him, it's just a corner nickel, cornerback that's nickel. So that's the kind of difference there. And the way they're in base, which I guess you could say is a 4-3, they are rarely ever in their base in a 4-3. I think that we should be considering their base defensive front being a 5-2. Last season, they only played 65 snaps in a 4-3. So I think we should wash it away and look at this team as a 4-2-5. Every single time that you talk about them, that's what you should do. But let's go rapid fire here, Hall. This is from our guy, Scott Hartley in the UK. Do you think there is any way Daron Payne stays with the team with almost $13 million in cap space left? Where else needs strength or depth? Well, we already talked about that. But with Payne, do you think Payne stays with the team after the season?
No, I think he'll be gone after this year. I think he'll get a contract offer from someone in free agency, and he'll most likely take that offer, which he should. So I don't really see them franchise tagging him. I see them letting him play this year, letting him walk, and then we ended up most likely getting a comp pick for him going into the following year after that.
With Daron, actually, I felt a different way the past couple months, but I'll tell you this. There was a couple weeks ago, Daron Payne got into a Twitter argument with RG3 when RG3 called out the defensive line. And Daron Payne came back and clapped at RG pretty well, actually.
Called him a turf eater.
Yeah, they called him a turf eater, which is actually hilarious. But what that shows that shows pride. That shows that you care deeply about what is said, what is thought of that unit. And I feel like now, I think Daron Payne will stay with this team. And I feel like he is, I'm not saying that he should, but I feel like he's somebody that would take a pay cut. Maybe Jonathan Allen would restructure his deal in order to keep him here longer and to be able to have give Daron Payne some money as well. That would be awesome to see. But
so then what do you do with Montez? Because he's going to be up for the contract.
Defensive line is not that much compared to the other ones, because that is a lot. But with Montez, I'd much rather go down the path of like the franchise tag, possibly something like that, the roundabout. Because with Montez, it's hard to gauge him, especially if he has a good year this year. That's going to really tip the scales a little bit. You know what I'm saying? But it's all based on this season. But I'm telling you, dude, I thought Daron Payne was as good as gone until I saw that Twitter exchange, because that mentally that tells me that he loves this. He loves these guys, and I think it'd be hard for him to leave. But obviously, money talks. So, what do you think, Jeff?
I gotta agree with Kyle on this one. I'm not too sure. A couple months ago, I was pretty sure he was out. But past couple months, I'm not too sure. Especially the team coming out and saying they're not interested in trading Payne.
Yeah, they've been Ben Standig said they've been offered trade deals from other teams and they've declined them.
And then, if anything, we have learned through the Trent, debacle, that if we could trade him, we would do it now,
Right.
And I don't think it's worth it. Clearly they don't right now. I could see, I'm not saying it's crazy that he'll leave, because if I'm Payne and we don't make the playoffs and we're not good this year, probably going to be looking elsewhere, because there's probably a playoff Super Bowl contender looking for, my position. But he seems to like it here. I'm over the John Allen and all that fight thing. I've done much worse, with my siblings. I'm over that. But I could see him staying here. And like Kyle said, money talks, and it depends how this year goes. Truly, I don't want him to be like a Preston Smith.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I would be salty if he left here and then just got even better than when he left here.
Balls
But the
out,
one thing
right?
I will say is about like them like denying the trade reports and denying trade offers. If we still had Ioannidis or Settle, I think that yes, they would trade him away. But the simple fact that they don't really have depth at the defensive line right now, and obviously he's one of the starters, so I think if they had another guy behind him still that was like kind of one of the rotational guys that's been contributing for the past couple of years, then yeah, they would take whatever offers on the table. But I think they just see it as he's more valuable now with us as opposed to trade him away for the pick next year.
Correct.
Now, what worries me is that a couple months ago during the draft, we were like, oh, we got Fedarian Mathis just in case Duron leaves. My worry is that they have ranged Fedarian Mathis' talent by then, since then, and they're not seeing everything that they saw in Deron Payne, and now they're saying, nope, we want him back.
Right.
That's my only worry. But like I said, we'll see this season. I think Fedarian Mathis learning behind this group of guys is the best thing for him. So we'll see.
Absolutely. But guys, we got to do a hard out of here because my lights just flickered. It's storming right now. This could shut off at any time. I want to make sure we save this. But Jeff, I wanted to say congratulations for the opportunity at Fedex Field. You deserve it. You're a very talented artist. We've known each other for a little while. You've always sent us what you got, and we love your work, dude. I really hope that we're able to see that when you actually go up there, and all those weekends of you flying up are going to be worth it, brother.
Man, I can't wait. I know your power's about to go out, but y'all better be there August 6th. I'm actually going to be there.
Okay.
And all the artwork is going to be done. So that's when they're revealing everything. So come through, see the artwork by me and the other artists. They're going to turn up. And yeah, I got some things I wanted to show y'all, but I'm not sure if I'm willing to. I did a Sean Taylor portrait. I'm ready.
My man, dude, Jeff, I cannot wait to see that, brother. Before we get out of here, if you want to plug your social media handle real quick.
Yeah. So Instagram, Jefe.Miles. That's JEFE .Miles, MILES. Follow me. I welcome all, Commanders fans and, NFC East fans. If y'all want to talk trash, I'm the one to do it with because I'm ready. My website is themilescollective.com. I'll see all the artwork. I don't just do Commanders art. I do paintings and ink drawings and all of that. So come see me, Jefe.Miles on Instagram.
My man, I appreciate you, Jeff. You're one of the best dudes out there. You've been a fan of us, but I really do appreciate it. Congratulations, man. I'm really happy for you, dude. It's always cool to see good people getting good things happen, It's always good to see that. Everybody, I hope you enjoy your 4th of July weekend. Celebrate the independence of this nation, this great, awesome nation. Celebrate it. Be safe, though. I want to make sure that gets pressed on. Hall and I are going golfing tomorrow morning. We're going to have some fun with a couple of our boys. So hopefully I'll post those videos of Hall swing and everything. Let me know what you guys think. All right, everybody.
You don't want to see that swing.
I will catch you on Monday. Washington football. I'm Kyle.
I'm Hall.
And we'll catch you on Monday. Washington football. Woo!
Peace.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Kyle. I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching. And if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell. That way you get notified when anything new is uploaded to the channel. Also, we just launched the BurgundyZone.com. You can go there and find all of our latest news, articles, and the latest episodes that are uploaded. Again, we also have the Discord chat server, where all of our VIP folks are in, like Andy Burrows, Scott Hartley, Sergio Martin is in there as well. Don't miss out on the Discord chat server. Go and check that out. Until next time, everybody, Washington football. Woo!